All right. Good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Drew Carter from the Office of Admission, and I'm so excited to have some great student panelists with me here tonight. Few quick housekeeping notes before we get started. First, closed captioning is available. You can click the CC button down at the bottom of your screen. Also, the Q&A button is available. So please put your questions in the Q&A. We will answer them either behind the scenes or we'll answer them here on the webinar. So please, the spirit of this webinar is an open conversation, so we'd love to hear your questions. So without further delay, let me start with my own question. Mia, watching that video, capturing that essence of moving in, you're a first-year student. Did you come on first-year move-in day? What was that? What was the energy like for you arriving to college for the first time?
I can definitely talk to this. It was crazy. I actually went, so because I'm from Buffalo, I spent the night Friday night, and I was walking around on Friday and I ran into all the orientation leaders and they all started cheering for me. And one of them recognized me from summer orientation. And so I already kind of had like a little glimpse of the energy and the sense of family that I felt as soon as I walked on. And then Saturday morning, I was nervous, but it was really organized. So we kind of drove through, stopped at all the checkpoints, and then we pulled up right to my dorm, and everybody got out. They opened up my trunk. They took everything right out for me. It was like service galore. It was just incredible. People were getting to know you right off the bat. What's your name? Where you're from? The helpers were so nice. The students who volunteered, it was just an incredible experience. And it was nice even meeting like girls on my floor, just like through walking and their families. So yeah, it was really incredible. And it definitely, I felt like a sense of community and a sense of purpose as soon as I stepped on campus. So.
Okay, Kevin, because you're a sophomore, you didn't get that experience last year because of COVID. What was it like arriving on campus this year?
Well, so I actually had an interesting case because I was an orientation leader. So I was able to come on. I was definitely one of the orientation leaders that was welcoming Mia when she was there on Friday and Saturday. But it was a little bit of a different experience for me. And I just have to say, being able to come back in person as an orientation leader and really give the first years the experience that I didn't really get to have was something that it was the best experience for me. It's definitely been one of the most rewarding experiences I've had here at Holy Cross. And it was just the warmth of the welcome that I was able to give as well as receive. It was another indication that I definitely made the perfect choice.
Foster, how about you? You're a first-year student. What was your experience like? You must have been nervous when you came to move in. Like, I remember what I was like. The anxiety and the excitement and the nervousness. What were you feeling that day when you arrived at Holy Cross?
Yeah, definitely. I live about an hour away, so the hour drive was a little bit like nerve-wracking, but also very exciting to kind of dive into college life. And like Mia was saying, when I pulled up, there were students screaming and welcoming me there, and they were unpacking the car, and it really just felt like a sense of community right off the bat. I met my orientation leader, checked me in actually, and it seemed like she already knew who I was, and she knew my name and everything. So it was really just a really welcoming community, and people, my RA was already in the hallway there to help me as well. So it was just someone to help whichever way I turned.
How about you, Sarah? It's been a couple years. You're a junior, so it's been a few years since you had that experience. But you were coming all the way across the country. You were coming from Washington. Do you remember what your feelings were like when you were moving out here to start your college career at Holy Cross?
Yeah, so my move out here was a bit scary because I was coming to Holy Cross and I knew literally zero people coming in. I did summer orientation, which was a great opportunity to get to meet some people in my class, but even then it was really nerve-wracking and I felt so welcomed coming onto campus. I also had a traditional move-in day pre-COVID and all of that. So it was a great experience just to be able to meet a lot of people in my hall. Also get to meet my RA because they were some of the people helping move us in. And then just immediately going straight into orientation, that's where I met a lot of people. And it took a lot of those nerves away that I was feeling initially coming onto campus.
Mia, I know one of the things that high school students worry about is they're so attached to their high school. And when they arrive at a college, it feels like you're not at high school, but it doesn't necessarily feel right away like you're at your home. Has Holy Cross started to feel like your school, your home? Have you, what's the last few weeks been like?
Sure. So it's so funny you say this because just yesterday I was out, my uncle visited, and he was like, okay, take us back to school. And my first instinct on my maps was to type in home. And I typed in home and it took me to Buffalo. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going there. I'm going to my new home. I think that for me, I went to a smaller high school and this was like an adjustment for me, but just the opportunity that the teachers have office hours, I think makes the world of difference. The ratio of students to faculty is pretty good. I am not in a class with more than 30 kids. Most of mine have right around 20. So you definitely still get the personal connection, and it makes it feel like you are a part of a community and that you're not just a number and that you matter. So I think that was really important for me. And that's something that has helped me transition easier in a more easier way. But also we have meetings with academic advisors in the summer to pick out classes. And I had a man and he was really helpful. And he kind of said, listen, this is going to be a learning curve. The first 6 weeks, everyone says, give it 6 weeks. I'm approaching the end of the beginning of my 6 week. And I have to say, it's been pretty incredible. The transition has been, for the most part, seamless. I've met a lot of great people. Professors are amazing. So I can't say more. So yeah, it's good.
Okay, Sarah, I want to go back to you. When did Holy Cross start to feel like home for you? When did it start to feel like your school? Such a big transition coming from the West Coast, but do you remember a moment when it felt like this was your school?
Yeah, I would say one of the places that I sort of met some of like the best people that I still am friends with today is in the Brooks Common Room. And Brooks is one of our first year halls on campus. And I just remember it was like a really hard transition after orientation because you're kind of thrown into everything and it was just like go, go, go. And on top of that, classes were starting and it was just super overwhelming. And I felt like I'd made the wrong decision and that I should have stayed closer to home. And then I remember like a couple weeks in, I was sitting in the common room with some of my best friends from my Monster Rock class, which is a first year program here. And we were sitting there and I was just like having a great conversation with them. A lot of them were also from far away, had a friend from California, a friend from Florida, and just like all over the country. And we sort of were just that conversation we had. I was like, okay, like I'll be okay. This is the place. Like this is good. And I finally met people that I really felt like I clicked with. Going in, there's so many people, so much happening. I feel like everybody knew each other, but in reality, everyone was in the same boat. And it was great to just be able to have those like really great connections and make those friendships with people.
Kevin, if you can look back, I think a lot of time high school students come to college, they have an idea about what they want to study, but I mean, how do you know what classes to take? I think sometimes high school students have heard about advisors, but like, what's that experience like of having an advisor? Do you meet with them? What was that like for you, especially as a first year student?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, first off, one of the best things I think about Holy Cross is that all first year students come in undeclared in terms of their major. And I sort of had a general idea of what I wanted to major in, but being able to have that flexibility, especially within that first semester, to take courses that kind of piqued my interest, and to really, have that certainty that this is exactly what I want to study before I was able to declare last spring. That was something that was really important to me. But advising was one of the biggest supports in that transition. Over the summer, I was able to meet, Mia referenced this earlier, but I was able to meet with my summer advisor, who was a professor, and he was able to help me, look into some of the more popular classes and say, these are the ones that you should, try to get in, quickly because, they'll fill up fast. And this is what I recommend for you based on your interests. And so the process is actually really easy. I ended up only picking 2 in the beginning and then 2 later on in the summer. And the process, went really smoothly because of that. And he was just able to really help me, feel very certain going into the first year in terms of academics, because it can be a really stressful part of the transition, and it really made it really easy for me.
Foster, I've got a question for you from our viewers tonight. What made you choose Holy Cross over other colleges you applied to?
Definitely. So Coming from, I went to Bishop Fenwick, about an hour away. And so coming from a community like that, I found a lot of similarities and parallels here at Holy Cross. But it was also just stepping on campus for the first time. I was a sophomore in high school and I came to tour the first time and everyone was really welcoming and the campus is beautiful. I highly recommend coming to see it. And just kind of being part of the community, and the tour guide was really like personable and would kind of explain different stuff and not just like what the buildings were, but different memories they had tied to the buildings. And I think that kind of just helped me to choose Holy Cross because I felt like the community was there, and then also just kind of that feeling of stepping on campus and feeling like home.
Mia, I've got a question for you, and I thought of you specifically because I'm familiar with your high school. A question here from one of our viewers that says, I currently go to a high-stress environment high school. Are you able to de-stress and step away from all the stress even though you live at school? Can you separate school and yourself?
Okay. My first answer is yes. So I think for me, I came from a pretty rigorous high school as well. And you're only taking 4 classes as a freshman per semester. So you're not allowed to take 5, you take 4, and one of them is a Montserrat. So it's like a required, everyone takes it, and there are different variations of it. But just the sheer fact that you're taking 4 classes as opposed to, 5, 6, 7, if in some high schools, is a different thing. Another thing is the time. You have so much more time. Your time management skills will do you well. And yeah, I think that there's so many things going on. There's food trucks every weekend here in the fall and since I've been here. And there's always events going on. There's Joe, they have like group fitness classes. There's a movie theater. You can go take the shuttle to different shops and different restaurants. And I think there's so much going on. There's so many opportunities socially that you definitely will be able to separate school and self and have some fun.
Sarah, another question from the attendees here. One of the things that makes high school students nervous sometimes is the idea of having a roommate and who that roommate will be and if you're going to choose a roommate. Can you tell me what your experience in residential life has been like at Holy Cross?
Yeah, so this year I'm actually the head resident assistant of Clark Hall, which is one of our first year dorms. And I actually don't have a roommate this year, but having experience as an RA, I've had to deal with so many different conflicts that come across with roommates. And then also I had a random roommate my first year as well. And I would say a lot of people come into college assuming that you and your roommate are going to be best friends and you're going to get along and it's going to be a great time. And it's okay if that's not the case. I was not best friends with my first year roommate, but that's fine. That's okay. There's so many other people that you'll meet, and it's great if you're besties with your roommate as well. But I would say that I think that it's not something to be scared of going into it, and you'll learn how to live with each other. It is a bit of a learning curve at first, but that's totally fine. It's part of growing up and coming to college and meeting people. And I would just say advice for living with a roommate is just have some great communication, and then make sure to take time apart from each other as well too. But it'll be great. It'll be a great time living with a roommate.
Okay, Kevin, in your experience working with orientation and just your experience as a student at Holy Cross, can you give our attendees, our high school students, an idea of how you meet students when you're, for a lot of you, this is the first time you've been new in a long time. You start your college experience. How do you meet people at Holy Cross?
Yeah, so for me, before I go into more orientation and in a normal year, I think my experience was pretty unique because, COVID really impacted my first year at Holy Cross. But one of the biggest ways that I actually met people, especially in my dorm hall, was simply just leaving the door open to our room. And as people would walk in from classes or, go to use the communal bathroom, people would stop and say hi. And that was the best way that I really got to meet a lot of the other kids who were on my floor. And I was able to develop a really strong connection with them as we were able to hang out through those, limited but still pretty open, opportunities. And then through orientation, as I've been able to work through with the first year students, there's been a ton of events that we've been able to put on, and through their orientation groups, they spend, a lot of time together over the course of about 4 days over the weekend leading up to when classes start. And I've been really lucky to be able to have, all of my orientees have really kind of stuck together. And it's been so nice walking around campus and seeing them walking together and talking. And we've all been able to develop a really close friendship, and I've moved from that orientation leader position to more of a friend to them. And so it's been really nice to see. There's always a ton going on with activities through orientation and just through the general college. So there's no limit to opportunities to meet people. Even though it's something to be stressed about, or that I was stressed about, it's not something to really worry about. Rather, it's a really exciting time.
Sarah, are there specific things that you do in your role as an RA or other people's role within the residence halls? Are there specific things in the dorms to help first year students get to know each other, get adjusted, just get used to being a part of a residential hall at college?
Yes, absolutely. So our the RAs in the dorms put on great programs and different activities for students to get involved, to be able to meet other people in the residence hall as well. Not just the people in your hall. I mean, obviously your RA on your specific hall will get to do some programming and things around that. But I would also say that just hanging out in the residence halls, in the common rooms, that's where I met a lot of my friends. There's a lot of great social spaces for people to get to just interact, do homework. There's kitchens in the basements of all the residence halls. So a lot of places to just sort of chat, get to know people. And you live with people in your same grade. So you get to meet a lot of the different people that are in your class with you.
Foster, I got a question here. I think this is you're a good person to ask this. As a first year student, still in your first semester, you're only 4.5 weeks into your first round of classes, but how did you sign up for classes for your first semester? How did you physically do that? How did you know what to do? Did you talk with an advisor? What was that whole process like of picking your first round of class?
Yeah, so I think it's definitely can feel a bit daunting when you're choosing your classes, because there's so many options to choose from, and you feel like if you think about it, you only have 32 classes or 32 to 40 classes that you're going to take your whole college experience. So it can be kind of daunting at the beginning to choose the right ones. But for me, I just kind of originally thought of what interests me and what I wanted to maybe major in or minor in or do as a concentration. And then from there, I was able to speak with, as been mentioned before, with my summer advisor. And he was really good with kind of helping me figure out what would be the best way to schedule classes, because on there's a first day in early August that you'll select, you'll go into the STAR account, and you'll basically put classes into a virtual backpack, and then you can enroll in those classes once enrollment opens. And so he was good with helping me figure out, as I think Mia mentioned, with certain classes are going to fill out more quicker than others. And so he helped me kind of figure out which ones I would want to select. And you're going to select your Montserrat, and your first class will be chosen for you, and then you'll select the other two. And then you can kind of look at teachers and scheduling. And my biggest piece of advice is just really kind of talk with your advisor about what you're interested in, and just kind of think about what you're interested in general, and start there. And you still have plenty of time in other semesters to explore other things, but just kind of really start with what you're passionate with, and you can kind of figure out where you want to go from there.
Yeah. What are the weekends like? You talked about food trucks on Friday, and I could talk about food truck Fridays all the time, but can you talk a little bit about, you've been there for 4 or 5 weekends now. What have you done on the weekends?
So we just came off of a thriller of a weekend. Freshman Field got a lot of use this weekend. Because our school hit a 90% vaccination rate over the summer, we were promised a fall concert. So all the students on Friday night, Kid Leroy came, and he came just for the Holy Cross students. Nobody else was allowed to come. And he came right to campus, right on Freshman Field. And that was so much fun. That's not every Friday, unfortunately, but it was a ton of fun. Saturday, yesterday, well, it was also homecoming weekend. So there was a football game, a home game against Harvard, and there was a tailgate. There's always tailgates. There's food trucks for the game, and people always go, and sometimes there's family members, but sometimes they friends who tailgate, and then they watch the game. So that's a lot of Saturdays, I guess, so far, just because we're in football season. But it's a great way just to meet people, and it's a great way to show pride for your school. That's been really cool to see people walking around with a bunch of Holy Cross stuff. But yeah, there are food trucks on the weekends, and those are like and they're free, which is really cool. And there's just always something for everyone to do. A lot of people walk around at night and just kind of get to know other people through that. And I think that's really cool because you're able just to kind of be outside and have that reflection, but it's really nice. And then Sundays are like study days. People just do their work, but yeah, we definitely have a lot of fun here.
Sarah, I got a question here, which is an interesting one from one of our viewers. Is there something you would have done differently during your freshman experience? Wondering if this is like advice you would be giving in the residential halls or around campus.
Yeah, so talking about weekends, I would say something I would have done differently is to stay on campus more during the weekends. I have family in the Northeast, so I would go to their houses and stuff, especially when I was still in this sort of like transition period. And the first couple of weeks are going to be, it's like a learning curve, and it's going to take a bit to get adjusted to everything. But my biggest recommendation is to stay on campus as much as you can. And that's what I wish I would have done, to be able to get to meet people, like Mia was saying, have that fun on the weekends, because it's easy during the week to want to leave and go home where you're comfortable. But I think that part of adjusting to college is being uncomfortable, and then it'll be a great time from there on out.
Kevin, can you talk a little bit about, we got a question here about the classroom environment. Like, is it more presentational or conversational? How many kids are in your classes? Is it competitive versus cooperative? What's the tone like in the classroom with your classes?
Absolutely. Well, I think one of the best things about Holy Cross classes is that we really pride ourselves on having small class sizes. So the average class size here is only 19 students. And so that really helps to facilitate a really discussion-based and really collaborative and cooperative environment. I really have not felt that there's been a sense of competing against other students, but it's really everyone wants to help each other. And that's been really wonderful. And especially with the professors, they help to make the classroom environment what it is, which is something that's really, really special. Last year, nearly all of my professors sent out surveys to us asking, just general questions about who we are, where we're from, our interests, maybe what we're studying, just to get to know us. And they use that information in office hours. And by the end of the first, few weeks, the professors knew everybody's names. So the classroom environment is really, I've only had a really positive experience in terms of academics here. It's been really wonderful.
All right, Foster, let's lighten it up a little bit. I made Kevin get serious by talking about the classroom. Let's talk about fun. Can you tell me about some fun on the weekends in the dorms on campus? You've been in campus now for 4.5 weeks. What's fun like for Foster?
So I really enjoy just kind of like hanging out with friends. There's definitely places for everyone. There's parties, and you can hang out with friends in dorm rooms. Like Mia was saying, there's food trucks on campus. There's a lot of different events. Like there was a bingo night, there was a casino night. So really, I think I totally agree that just I was kind of nervous going in what would happen on the weekends, like if I would be bored on the weekends or anything like that. But I've kind of found that if you stay on campus, you can kind of find like-minded people and really kind of hang out with friends. And there's a lot of different activities on campus. So I've really not been bored. I've unfortunately had to return to doing homework at some point over the weekend. But otherwise, there's a ton of stuff to do, and just kind of hanging out.
Quick question, Mia, one of our attendees. You mentioned like walking around at night. What's it feel like? Do you feel safe? I think for people who haven't been to campus, we're located in a big city, but what's the feel like walking around campus at night?
Sure. So we're like located in a city, but we're on a hill. So it's very not secluded, but it's very like enclosed, I guess would be the word I'd use. And someone's always around, but there's also like pub safe, and there are public safety department, and they always just drive around. But no, I feel totally safe walking at night. I always walk with friends. I just feel like that's just like a common thing you should do. But yeah, I think it's totally safe. People just can walk around and talk to each other. there's like a row, like it's called Easy Street, of all like a lot of the first year dorms anyways. So a lot of people just kind of circle around all the dorms and kind of have fun. But yeah, definitely safe.
Kevin, I know knowing what class to sign up for is one thing, but like when you come to college, when you come to a new school as a first year student, I think high school students are often wondering like, how am I going to know what the activities are? What about the extracurricular opportunities? How do you even know about this stuff? How do you sign up for this stuff? Can you talk about what that's like at Holy Cross and what that's been like for you?
Absolutely. So one of the major events that really kicks off the start of the year is the co-curricular extravaganza. And that is just a really great way for students to see all of the activities. It's just a big club fair, and all of the different organizations put out, posters and informational flyers, and students can walk around and see everything that's available. And even if you're not able to attend that, or you have to leave early or whatever it is, they're always sending out emails about, the different clubs that are offering meetings. Our newest, one of the newest things about Holy Cross is the addition of My HC, which is sort of a virtual platform where students can see the events and the clubs and organizations. And it's just sort of a communal social media page for the college, and they have a lot of information about all of the clubs and organizations there. So there's no limit or anything to be stressed about as you're looking, to get involved. And we have 100+ different, organizations here. So you can always find something. And if we don't offer something, you can make your own club too. So that's a good thing.
Sarah, as the veteran member of our webinar group here tonight, you're the one farthest down the academic journey. Can you talk about what your process was like of exploring academically and then eventually declaring a major?
Yes, absolutely. I changed my major probably like 3 times. It was a whole thing. I started as no idea what I wanted to do. And then my Montserrat and other classes sort of helped me figure out like where I wanted to go. Thought I was going history, then decided last second I didn't want to, about like a month before we like officially had to decide. So now I'm English. I love English as my major. I also self-designed a minor, which was Middle Eastern Studies, which was really easy to do. I got really interested in like the Arabic department and other places like that. And you can meet some great professors that'll help you along the way navigate, because they want you to succeed. And they'll be there to help you like figure out exactly the path you want to take. And then I'm also an education minor. So really hitting all the bases there. And it's okay if you're going into it and you have no idea what you're doing, and you can change your major and minor several times, more times than me. But you'll find where you're going. I would just not keep a closed mind and keep an open mind to the different classes and stuff that you will be taking.
So Mia, when you're in high school, you know your teachers so well, and
Yeah.
your teachers know you so well. And I think one of the things that intimidates high school students is college professors. What are they going to be like? Are they going to be scary? Are they going to know you? You're 4.5 weeks into college academics. Are the professors scary? What are they like?
They're definitely not scary. I made it a mission that like every office hours, like the first office hours, I was just going to go and kind of introduce myself and say that I'm excited to have a good year and I'm ready to learn and I'm eager. And I did that, and I got to know so many of them, and they're super helpful. Like they just want you to succeed. I think it's the exact same I've felt as my high school. Obviously, you're like a little closer with your high school just because you know them more and you're there for 4 years. But I would imagine that by the time I graduate here, I'd feel the same way as I did about my high school teachers. But I think for the most part, they all want to see you succeed. They all are just as eager to teach you as you are to learn. And that's so important. And I think that's unique to Holy Cross. And yeah, I am already like, they know my name. I'm not a number here. And that's really important. So yeah, they're great.
And so the professors are an unknown when you're in high school, but so is the workload. Kevin, you're a first semester sophomore. What's the workload like?
I think it really varies depending on the student and depending on the class, but I would have to say that the workload at some points is rather heavy, admittedly. You often do have a lot of work, and sometimes it's all about, finding the right balance between workload. Generally I spend a good portion of my day working on homework after classes, but then it's really, you have a lot of time. It's different than high school. The best metaphor I ever heard about high school is that it's a marathon, and you wake up at 6 in the morning, go to school, you go to practices, rehearsals, and meetings, and then you do your homework and you're in bed at midnight, and then you do it all again. But in college, it's really different. It's about more, budgeting your time. You only have a couple of classes a day, and then, your assignments aren't always due for the next class, but they're more sort of long term. And, but even with all that's going on, I still have a lot of time to be able to hang out with my friends and make sure I'm, eating meals and, getting exercise, and having fun on the weekends and during the week. So, the workload, it can be a lot. Holy Cross is known to have, somewhat rigorous academics, but at the same time, there's a ton of support to help you, and it's really, really manageable.
Sarah, can you tell me about a favorite professor you've had at Holy Cross?
Yeah, definitely. It's actually my Montserrat professor. His name is Professor Rupichetti. It was a very difficult history class. I think it was probably one of the hardest Montserrats out there. And every day I came to that class, I was like, oh, another like super long reading I got to do. But I think he made the class such a fun time. And also the people in that class, since you're with them all year, we really built a great community, and he helped sort of establish that community. I grew as a writer so much in that class, and he convinced me to be a history major for the short time that I was. But regardless, the skills that I learned in that class from him, and then also from that just Montserrat in general, was super valuable. And I got to meet some of my best friends I still around me today in my Montserrat as well too.
Okay, Mia, I've got a question for you. You got to know Holy Cross through the application process, I'm assuming doing your own research.
Yeah.
You've been here 4.5 weeks now. Has there been something that surprised you?
Oh, that's a good one. Something that surprised me. I guess I was not expecting to know so many familiar faces. Like, I think that I was expecting no mixing of the grades, kind of just like a very like high school, like the seniors don't ever talk to the freshmen, like know your place, like something like that. And I will say I've totally been like, to my great surprised by the fact that everybody is friendly. I don't like, you see people you don't even know and they're like, hey, how are you? How's your day going? And it's like, okay, wow, this is cool. But I think that's really surprising how nice everyone is and how willing to help everyone is too. I think as a first year student, sometimes like you don't know what to do and you don't know like some ins and outs of things. And there's always somebody who will say, do you need help with something? Can I help you with something? So yeah, everybody's really friendly and helpful. That's really cool to see.
How about you, Foster? You've been at Holy Cross for 4.5 weeks now. Have you found something that's surprised you?
I think what surprised me the most is how at home I feel already. I'm someone who's really a homebody. I really, especially during the pandemic, being at home all the time, I was really like comfortable in my own house and not having to go out. And as much as I wouldn't say I'm a total introvert. I do like kind of to be by myself sometimes. And so I think I was kind of surprised that despite like not having as much privacy as before and not being in a totally different space where I'm living, I still feel like a sense of home and I still feel comfortable. And I'm not constantly like stressed or feeling out of place. I kind of feel like I have a place, and that's something that kind of surprised me that it happened so quickly.
Okay, so we're gonna do a quick round robin question here. I'm gonna go around Sarah, Kevin, and then Mia, then Foster around the circle here. Favorite meal at Holy Cross, Sarah?
I think I would have to say the special Kimball Thanksgiving dinner. I don't think anyone here has experienced that, but I was talking to my friends today about it and we're like counting down the days. It's a great time.
Kevin?
See, for me, I think Kimball breakfast is just the best. So especially when they serve that for dinner, that's a really fun meal.
And Mia?
I would have to say the chicken parm here is really good. There's always really long lines at chicken parm night. So that would be mine.
Foster?
A little different, but I like the breakfast sandwiches at D'Agostino's. They're my favorite in the morning.
Sarah, I have a question for you because you came the farthest to Holy Cross. Do you miss home? Have you ever been homesick while you've been at college? Did you think you'd be homesick? Can you just talk to me about homesickness? You're so far away from home.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still homesick, like to this day, being a junior. It's something that, every time you're like, oh, I just wish I was home, like in my bed with a nice home cooked meal. Looking forward to fall break. But it's definitely something that a lot of people experience. And I think when you go into college, you are like looking around at everybody and you feel so alone because you don't think anybody else is going through it. And I would just say that when you're coming to college, it is so normal to feel super homesick and to feel like you're not fitting in and that things aren't going well, but it'll get better once you meet your people and sort of get into the flow of classes and figure out how to even do college life. Everything just gets so much better. And I'd say the biggest piece of advice I have for that is to just meet your people, get involved, and then it'll be a great time.
Yeah, we got a question here. When did you sign up for your classes? I think when I was in high school, I thought you just showed up the first day for college and you like signed up that day for all of your classes. Can you just talk about like when you signed up for your classes that you're taking now first semester?
Yeah, so you meet with your academic advisor, I would say like in the month of July, and you're automatically, well, you have to fill out a form with your top 6 Montserrat options, and then you fill out another form with 2 courses that you really want to take, and you're guaranteed your Montserrat, so you're automatically placed into your Montserrat, and then you're automatically placed into one of your 2 top preference choices for a class. So 2 of them, by the time you actually do enrollment, you're already enrolled in. The other 2, I believe enrollment is like August like 12th, like around there. So it's like 2 weeks before you move in. And it's at like 5:30 on the dot. And you can have like all your courses in your bag. You can go through it. They send you emails on like how to go through it and make sure that you're ready for when it happens. And then there's also an open enrollment period, which is I think like the week after it starts. And then you can kind of swap if you need to swap a class. But yeah, it's pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. And they send you so many emails, so they help you with it.
We got time for maybe 2 more questions. Foster, can you talk to me about maybe a favorite professor you've had so far this first semester as a freshman, or even maybe a favorite class, either one?
So I would say my favorite professor is my Montserrat professor, Professor Franco. And I feel like I really like her for the fact that she really kind of embodies the idea of a Montserrat and it being kind of a welcoming experience, that it's not just solely about the curriculum that you're learning, but it's also about the transition and kind of being there for maybe more of an academic transition. Kind of if you have any questions that you need to answer, she's very approachable. And I think she really has a passion for wanting her students to really learn in the course, but also kind of become their own person. And she's really hands-on and there to answer questions.
Okay, Mia, you're my last question tonight.
Okay.
It's a simple one. Why Holy Cross? Why
That's so funny.
did you, or why should anyone choose Holy Cross?
Sure. So I chose Holy Cross because it is a school that aligns with my values and my sense of spirit. And I think that that's like, it's very like subjective, but you have things you value doing the right thing and working for and with others and kind of being somebody who can make a difference at a school. And, you want a school that has opportunities, a school that you can come from and not just go to. That was so important to me. And as soon as I stepped on campus, I've been here a lot of times, but as soon as I stepped on campus, each time it was, okay, this is a school that values you, that cares about you, that is focused on making a difference in you. And in return is almost expecting the same thing. They're expecting you to bring, your part to this community. And just because you have a part and you have an obligation to make a difference here, and you can make a difference here in so many ways, I think that was like a challenge I was ready to meet. So that's why I chose Holy Cross. And I also think that's why you should too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mia. Thank you so much to all of our attendees tonight and all of our panelists. You guys were awesome. Thank you so much for all the questions. I know we probably didn't get to answer all of the questions. That just means you got to come back next Sunday to our next webinar. How will I know what classes to take? That's the topic of our next webinar. I hope that you can sign up and attend. If you have not already, there's the link. Sign up for our upcoming webinars. You can also see we have 5 more webinars coming up this fall. Thanks again for watching. Stay safe this fall, please. Stay sane, stay in touch, and go Pats. Good night.